This is our Sports Medicine Center of Thibodaux Regional Halftime Show, special playoff edition of the Sports Medicine Center of Thibodaux Regional Halftime Show. Guess what? Last time the Colonels won a playoff game, it was in 1986. How could we not welcome back a Colonel great, quarterback of the 1986 Colonels, a man who is the all-time leading record holder in most passing yards in Nicholls history. Doug Hudson, you're back in Colonel country. Welcome back to Thibodaux.
Thank you, Brian. It's great to be here, and man, just the excitement around the school. What Coach Rebo's done is exciting. The guys that he's brought in, the vision that he had, and then to see it come to fruition up in Western Tennessee, it's been nice to watch it. It's good to be back. It feels like old times. It's brought back such great memories, and I think the greatest thing are the relationships with people that are, it's 32 years ago. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, but a lot of great relationships, and I see these guys building, what they've built is really special.
Doug threw for 7,640 yards in his Colonel career. You had some pretty nice weapons around you. You had Mark Carrier, you had Oscar Smith, you had Lionel Vital. You had a lot of weapons on the field. What was it about that era of Colonel football that led to such greatness?
Well, we had the coaching staff. We had a lot of different great coaches, but they brought in great players. And then, football's about X's and O's and Jibby and Joe's, but it's also really, in my opinion, about family. It's about love. And so you think about, what does that mean? Well, sometimes that's not, I say friendly, it's bringing the best out in each other. And that's what I see happening here, and that's what happened then. We had guys, there's a lot of talent in South Louisiana, and I was one of two guys. There was only two guys from out of state. We had local talent, and they're players here. And the coaches develop the players, and you see that's what's going on now with Coach Rebo. He's developing guys, and it's so exciting to see guys believe and then actually achieve what they set out to do. And so, I believe there's belief and there's experiences, and what Coach Rebo's done is he's started with the belief, and then they've created an experience. And so the guys, it's an education for a lifetime. So, I like the Colonel for Life thing. These guys will never forget the bond they have right now.
Doug Hudson was a 1987 seventh-round selection of the Kansas City Chiefs. The win against Appalachian State in '86, it's a playoff win that, of course, Nicholls is trying to re-achieve. They're trying to get a win today against San Diego, and that would be the second postseason win in the history of Nicholls football. What do you remember most about that postseason win against App State?
Well, that was really, as I think of it, that was just another game. And so we were on a roll, and it was just another game. So that we were focused on the process then. So we weren't really focused on outcomes. So they were a good team. We were a good team. We made some mistakes. We won the game. It was the next game we played against Georgia Southern. They had a quarterback by the name of Tracy Ham, who was legendary. We had a hard time stopping him. And that was They went on to win the national championship, and they deserved it. But it was a great year. I do believe this Nicholls 2018 team has a chance to go really deep in these playoffs. And I talked to Chase yesterday. I got to meet him. It was a lot of fun. And I said, Chase, you know where Frisco is? Frisco, Texas. And he looked at me and he said, yeah, Coach, we're going to be there soon. And I love that about him. His high school coach, Jay Roth, and I played together in the 80s, and Jay did a good job coaching Chase, but I just love, when I first saw him play against Georgia, I don't think there's any stage that's too big for Chase, and I love that. That's his greatest attribute, and he's a player, and he's getting better, and I think he's going to have an opportunity. But he's getting better right now in his protections. I talked to Coach Christopher a little bit about that yesterday. There's I think three things you really need to, a lot of things you need to know as a quarterback, but you got to know patterns, your progressions and protections. And so in Chase's, I've seen his improvement and taking care of the ball just the last 4 weeks. If you look at his stats, he's getting better. Yeah. And the team's getting better, and he has players around him, and that's football is not golf. It's as a quarterback, you need players. You need not one receiver, but two, not one running back, maybe two or three. You need a great head coach. You need a great defense and a great offensive line. If you have all those things, you're going to be pretty good. Chase has those things with his own ability to find a way to win. He's a competitor, and I've loved watching him play, and I'm excited for him. I told him, I said, man, thanks, you brought my name up to my adult daughter. My daughter's like, Dad, look, what is this? And I'm like, hey. So I'm grateful for what he's done.
Doug Hudson and Chase Forcade, the two greatest quarterbacks in the 46-year history of Nicholls football. You've known Rob Christoffel, our offensive coordinator, for 15 years. Your wife, Ann, is friends with Chase Forcade's mom, Jill. You've lived in Jackson, Tennessee, and been away from Nicholls for a long time. This is your first visit back to Nicholls since you were inducted into our Hall of Fame in 2010. How do you explain all of these crazy coincidences?
Yeah, I don't know if they're explainable, but it's relationships with really good people, and there's a connection to South Louisiana, and it's home in a way. Ann's from Raceland. I came to school here and fell in love with Thibodeau, and the coaches that coached me, Coach Clark, Coach Brown, all the coaches I'm still in touch with. So they kind of raised me in a way, and I've learned a lot. I'm very grateful for my experience at Nicholls and what it gave me and what I needed Nicholls, no doubt about it, at that time. And it was a great experience. We had some tough times in football. We had some changes in coaching, but it all kind of came together. We had some guys that stayed together for 5 years, and we worked really hard, and then it paid off. So the relationships still remain.
Pretty special that you and Chase Forcade have been able to develop this bond. He is a game or two away from breaking your all-time passing record at Nicholls. He's a little under 400 yards away from topping that 7,670-yard mark. He just passed you in total touchdowns a couple weeks ago. He's up to 70 touchdowns in his career. What's it been like to watch his career the last 3 seasons and get reintroduced to Nicholls football?
Well, I'm excited. I'm excited when Coach Rebo came and they started throwing the football. I'm like, thank you, Lord. Throwing the football is a good thing. And to have Coach Christoffel and just to talk to him about how he's open to input from his staff, he's got 4 or 5 brains working on things instead of just one, and I applaud that. And so I think everybody benefits. And when you throw the ball, good things happen, but they run the ball. So we run, it's equal. So you have to make a decision. What are you going to stop? You're going to stop the run? Fine. You're going to stop the pass? Fine. It's hard to stop both. It really is. You have to make defensive coordinators have to make a decision. And I think they've made the complex simple. And that's where you see the beauty of athleticism in football come out with kids, is they're not thinking, they're responding. And that's what, and I've seen, I'm happy for Chase. And Chase, you can see it, and I've just met him one time, but it's not about him. It's about the team, and that's leadership. So I couldn't be. He's been raised well. He's made good choices, and he's a player. He's a great player. So I'm thrilled.
You, of course, had a short NFL career, but to be drafted by an NFL team, it speaks to your success at Nicholls. Mark Carrier, his records will never be broken at Nicholls. Those are certainly established as a top wide receiver in Colonel history. What an unbelievable NFL career he had. When we look at the 30-year arc between your era and the one that we're currently a part of, what similarities do you see from your playoff team and the one that Coach Rebo has established the last 2 years at Nicholls?
I believe it or not, when I was here at Nicholls, we were one of the first schools in college football to run a one-back offense and to send 5 receivers out in routes. So it was kind of, Joe Clark was here, and he was real good friends with Lindy Infante, and they ran the Smash Series, 60 Series. We ran conversion and routes and changed routes, and it was it was a run-to-air, pass-to-air offense. So there are some similarities there, I think, in the offense. Defensively, my goodness, these guys are good. Nicholls right now, when I see them play defense, it thrills me. They are strong up front, and I think that's the core of the defense. And then Mr. Amani, if I'm saying it right, he reminds me, I was thinking about him. There was a guy named Jerron Cherry who was an all-pro free safety at Kansas City who was always around the ball, and I didn't know how he did it, but he was watching, and he would watch me in practice and watch my feet and shoulders, and he knew where the ball was going. So Amani reminds me of a combination between him and a guy named Chuck Cecil, who would really just take your head off in Green Bay. But I see what he did the last week, and it thrilled me. I was like, he was basically playing receiver for the other team. He knew where the ball was going to be. But the whole defense, they play great defense. They're coached well, and that is helpful. So.
What a fun conversation with Doug Hudson, Colonel Great, unbelievable career at quarterback, and pretty special to think that it was 30 years ago this year you and your wife Ann got married on this campus. You met a local girl in Thibodaux, and here we are 30 plus years later. What a storybook.
Yeah, well, it actually was. I was involved in football, and I was in Go Hall, and I saw this girl, and she took my breath. There ain't no doubt. She took my breath. I was like, holy cow. So, and then in 87, I was drafted. We moved to Kansas City, and in 88, we were married. And then when I moved her away to Kansas City, I don't know. Her dad, God rest his soul, has passed. I don't know if he's forgiven me yet. But, no, I love him to death. We moved away. It was good for us to move to Kansas City, and then we moved back, and then we wound up moving to Tennessee when I got a job up there, and which is where I'm originally from. But we love Louisiana, the best food in the world, best people in the world. So we try to get back as much as we can.
Doug has been a popular man today. I don't know how we were able to get you away from a bunch of your former teammates for a few minutes for this interview. I know you got to get back. It's halftime, and there's a lot of conversations that can continue to be had. Doug, legend, appreciate your active support in this university 30 years after your career concluded. You look good in all this Nicholls gear you're wearing today. Enjoy the second half.
Thank you, Brian, and thank you for what you do. I mean, your excellence in interviews, and I applaud you with the interviews with Brian Strapola, Lionel Vital, Oscar Smith, my teammates, and their inductions, and the heartfelt, what they went through, and how you captured that and did your research on who they were, where they came from, and what they accomplished was really amazing. So thank you for that.
It's a special era. I'm glad we got to shout out all of those guys. It was unbelievable being reintroduced to their story, and the same with you. We're not the Marines, but it's once a colonel, always a colonel, and it's great to have you along. Doug Hudson, if you don't hear this interview, we'll play it back for you on ESPN Radio New Orleans. All-time leading passer in colonel history, 7th-round draft pick of the Kansas City Chiefs, and here, back in Thibodaux, to watch the Colonels as they get set for the second half against San Diego. This is Colonel Football, and this was your Sports Medicine Center of Thibodaux Regional Halftime Show. We're back for more on the Colonel Sports Radio Network.